Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the HNEpod, and again, I am joined by Jackson from Full Circle.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me back, Josh. It was a fun time last time, and I'm ready to talk some more news this week.
Yeah, so today we have on our kind of topic list there, we have the Christian Bale casting, talking about the role he may be playing in the movie. And then also at the same time, we're talking about the Flash movie because we have a new update on that, even if it's rather minor, all things considered. Then the Batman movie, set photos came out for that, or I guess I should say leaked out for that, which it doesn't give a lot, even though we do have a new confirmation for casting, but it does tease something, which may be a part of a grander part of the story for the actual movie. And then last but not least, the New Mutants trailer came out, so we're going to talk about that since, my God, has that production had quite the troubled history.
Been a long road for that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. And speaking of a story being told, that's a terrible segue, but the New Mutants movie
it's gonna be
finally
told.
dropped its trailer. And I'm kind of speechless, actually, because I still can't believe this movie is still being made. I feel like it's been ready to release forever. People thought it was going to appear in a Walmart dollar movie bin and that was it, or on the streaming services, but the fact that it appears it's still coming out in theaters and it's actually going to be more like the original director's vision, not whatever the studio was trying to do before the Disney Fox merger happened, or I guess acquisition happened. It's a very up and down interesting development, and I'm really curious personally if they're actually going to secretly make this a part of the MCU. And I'll let you get into what your thoughts are and stuff like that. And I'll get into more of why I'm saying that. But Jackson, what do you think about the New Mutants and, well, the New Mutants, I guess?
I mean, that's the elephant in the room, right? I mean, we thought Fox Marvel was done. Honestly, even up to 2 weeks ago, we didn't know New Mutants. There was a release date, but there's been 10 different release dates, so it wasn't anything that anyone took any weight behind. It was just a date that they had locked on there for some reason. Then we hear a trailer's coming. Josh Boone says a trailer's coming. We're like, wait, why? We all assumed that it was just going to end up on Hulu or some weird cut up version on Disney Plus at some point down the line. We were just like, well, what's going on here? And they released the trailer, and it's like, wow, they're like actually doing this. Like, this is actually going to come out. We thought Dark Phoenix was the end. Dark Phoenix was pitched as the end. You know what I mean? The marketing made it seem like Fox. This is Fox's last go around, their swan song. And then here we go with New Mutants, and it's kind of blindsiding people. I mean, people took to the trailer. I think I enjoyed the first trailer more. I think people forgot how much they liked that first trailer. It was really well regarded when it came out. Excuse me, but I'm incredibly curious what this movie's going to be. It's not a story like I'm feeling necessary to really go see. I'm not like really anticipating it, but I am fascinated to see because I mean, hey, what if it's completely possible that Disney said, hey, we're going to cut up this movie back to the original way that Josh Boone wanted to do it, and we're going to release it. And what if people really like this movie? What if people really enjoy this movie? What are the implications of that going forward with the X-Men in the MCU? Could they retcon it in later on? I think it's possible. I don't think they're going to do it from the jump. I think it's like the Venom situation where if people really like Venom and Tom Holland and Venom, then there's the possibility down the line of putting that in the MCU. But I don't think from the get-go Feige would say, hey, let's just put this in there without seeing fan reception first. So I think they're going to just give us what they have, and then they'll just see what it is. I mean, any amount of money they get at this point will have to be somewhat helpful, given that it's just been sitting around for 2.5 years. But yeah, I mean, you can get into it now, but yeah, I'm interested. I'm very interested where it goes.
Yeah, I think this will end up leading to, and I could be entirely wrong, and if I'm wrong, it's all good. If I'm correct, great. But I really do think they're going to make this movie a backdoor introduction to mutants within the MCU. And I say that for 3 reasons. The first reason is at Comic-Con, when talking about the first movie with X-Men related characters, instead of saying X-Men, Feige said mutants. And I felt like he was going to say New Mutants for a second, then caught himself and just said mutants. And people assumed he said mutants just because X-Men, mutants, all that jazz. But it was a very odd choice of words. And maybe I'm looking too into it, entirely possible. The second reason is because this film is rather standalone. in its nature. I mean, both the setting is rather kind of hidden from the rest of the world, and also just in general, this movie is in such a way where you can really have the characters be a part of the larger universe, but just have the setting be so secretive and the events so secretive that it's just easy to play with, basically. It's not like, the Dark Phoenix or First Class Universe films where it was very involved with things like the Cuban Missile Crisis. You have none of that really world interactions going on. With New Mutants, it basically just takes place in this one building, in this one general setting. And you can really play with that in ways that you couldn't with other films with regards to bringing things into the MCU. And the third reason I say I think they might use this is because it previously came out in reports that Marvel Studios was involved in certain reshoots in production tweaks here and there with the movie to allow it to fit more into an MCU Marvel Studios kind of vibe in that greater universe. And Disney even said they offered it up to Marvel if they wanted to be included in the MCU. And we never got reports if that ended up being taken by Kevin Feige or not. So I think that might be a surprise. Otherwise, to be totally honest with you, I see no reason to release this film.
I think, I completely understand
especially
that.
If Marvel's going to be introducing the X-Men in the future and doing their own mutants, there's no reason to do a New Mutants movie unless there's something else at play here, I think, long term.
And to just, to play devil's advocate to your point, I think this movie really has two big things going for it. First of all, we know that Marvel is looking into doing, moving into the horror genre. Not, fully, but they're getting these supernatural elements coming in with Moon Knight and Blade. Doctor Strange 2, Scott Derrickson has described it as a somewhat horror movie. I know Feige kind of backtracked that a little bit, but obviously it's going to have those elements. And New Mutants is pitched as a horror movie. The trailer makes it look like a horror fest and something creepy and scary, and not something that is really it has been in the MCU. And I think that's a help. I think that's a draw for a lot of people. And I think number two, this movie is stacked with actors. Maisie Williams and Anya Taylor-Joy are two of the big up and coming actresses in Hollywood today. I mean, Maisie off of Game of Thrones, and obviously she shot this before Game of Thrones ended. Because this was shot so long ago, and Anya Taylor-Joy is just been everywhere, and I think they're two bright spots that could, if this movie is received well, become staples in the MCU if that's what they choose to do. I mean, these are high class actors. They're people that you feel like the MCU would pitch and try to court, and I think that's a huge bonus to New Mutants.
Yeah, and another thing I was thinking about too is when watching the newest trailer, one thing they left in there was basically the kids sounded like they were learning what mutants really were for the first time. Some of them woke up and, they had an event trigger their superhuman abilities. And that's how they, I guess, realized they were mutants of some kind. But they never really make it seem like mutants. Within the footage shown in the trailers, it doesn't seem like mutants are a commonly known thing, a widespread thing. Sounds like we're in the early outbreak stages of mutants really becoming a thing, which I think fits, like I said before, perfectly within the MCU, using this to introduce such a concept within their greater universe. Plus, at the same time, it's been one of those things where Kevin Feige really wants to do it. So to have it so perfectly almost gift wrapped to him, like the movie's already made. You already have it in a secluded environment. You have, like you said, a great deal of talent around it actor-wise that maybe you can poach and use in other movies, whether it's a New Mutants franchise or, cameos and whatever in other films. I mean, it seems too good for Kevin Feige to just let slip out, especially since the MCU wants to do mutants. And you said it yourself, they want to do more supernatural, more horror. This has everything for them right there.
And I mean, you're right. This movie is exists in a vacuum. We don't know what it is. No one has any idea what's going on. So if it works, they can use it. If it bombs, they don't have to. It's the perfect situation, I think, really, based on these obscure group of characters that people don't really know.
Yeah.
These could be the Guardians of the Galaxy of the X-Men universe. We just don't know it yet. It's been sitting around forever. There's so much mystery and intrigue, and I think a lot of people. I think there's honestly a draw of people just trying to figure out what this movie even is. when by releasing it. I think it could have benefited from streaming in that way, but just being tossed out and people being able to see it. But I mean, hey, let's see what they got. I'm willing to go, at least check it out and see what Fox Marvel had to come up with. Almost 3 years ago at this point. So hey, why not? And if it works, it works.
Yeah, I mean, my tinfoil hat's all the way on here because, you have Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios canceling ABC and Hulu TV shows. To me, it's just there's a lot of smoke here heading towards that direction. Usually the MCU doesn't really allow stuff like that to happen.
It feels weird. It feels weird. The whole ambiance of the whole situation.
Very much so. Especially how
it feels
secretive
different
it's
than usually.
Been. Have you noticed
very
how
weird.
secretive it's been? Never have we ever had a Fox Mutant movie or Fox X-Men movie so secretive before. And then all of a sudden, details about this movie are very scarce, or at least more recent details, like what happened in reshoots, what happened in the production since Disney's taken it over. It's just been very odd.
Well, it was radio silence for over a year. I mean, there was just nothing. I mean, there were people throwing out reports here and there, but there was no concrete info from either Disney/Marvel or Fox/Marvel, and we had no idea. And then here just comes this trailer, and we're all like, "Whoa, okay." And then people very much enjoyed it, and I think that works in its benefit, and I think there's a lot going for it. I'm just waiting to see what they actually have.
Same here. I mean, whether the New Mutants movie is a part of the MCU or not, obviously, I'm really full tin hat here. But whether it's a part of the MCU or not, I think it's going to be a good movie. Otherwise, they would not at all release it at this point, because that's just how Disney is. They won't release anything they think isn't at least B+ quality or higher. It's very rare to get a Disney dud, to be honest, which is great on their part. Great for catching all the potential slips that movies might have. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this episode. Jackson, thanks for joining us again. I appreciate you being available.
Absolutely, anytime.
Yeah. So I guess, Jackson, you want to let everybody know where they could find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at JacksonHayes67 and follow the page at Full Circle Cine. That's CINE. And yeah, we'll just check us out and listen to the pod and continue to listen to the pods and support H&E and all that.
Yeah. And for anyone else interested, leave comments in the description with hashtag HNEpod. Also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you're probably listening to this as different segments. But if you're listening to it on other platforms, let us know what platforms you're listening to it on, whether it's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever it may be you're listening to it, let us know. And with all that said and done, Jackson, again, thank you for being a part of this episode, and we'll see you guys later.